John entered the common room a bit dazed and looked around. There were 3 large white tables with a handful of people milling around each of them. John felt inordinately tired and sat down in the nearest chair to collect himself. "Hey, you." John at first ignored the comment. He almost felt unwell. "Come over here. It's a matter of life and death." John looked up now at the man that had spoken. He was gaunt, with a few strands of hair left in his narrow head. His eyes were sunken in. He looked serious and plaintive. John was entranced by him. "This place ain't what it seems to be, buddy." His eyes looked around the place. "See all these people around here? Notice anything odd about them?" John looked around and shrugged. "You ever gotten real close to one of them? Enough to smell their breath? Enough to see their nose hair?" John shook his head, confused. "You'll hear it. You'll hear them whirring, like they got a little fan inside them." "What?" John said. The man looked up and glanced at John. "Look over there. Lucy, long black hair, looking at herself in the mirror and combing it. Nothing strange about her, no?" John frowned. "Count. 1, 2, 3, switch. 1, 2, switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, switch. Always on a prime number. She always switches her hand on a prime number." John furrowed his brow. Wait. Check out over there. Larry. See what he's looking at?" He was looking at a gardener outside. "Watch." The man whispered to John. "Hey, Larry," he called. Larry looked away, and John heard a yelp outside. The gardener had fallen down. "Oh, never mind. I found it." Larry looked back. The gardener stood back up. John looked puzzled. "How?" he mouthed. "And check this out." The man looked at his watch. "Okay. 3, 2, 1, and..." One of the 2 men playing checkers on the other side of the room stood up and slapped the table, shouting, only to sit back down moments afterwards and resume the game. John, startled, and looked at the man with wide eyes. "Happens every day. 347 sharp. Starting to get it now. This ain't normal. These ain't normal people. In fact, if you look very closely, you can see what's behind those doors." He pointed, "which you ain't allowed to go through. They're massive terminals, all sorts of blinking lights and gadgets. You see, John, they're replacing us. They're doing it slowly, but surely, and this is one of their facilities. Everybody that comes here gets it. Brain fried, replaced with a little computer." "You're telling me that each of these guys are what? Robots?" The man's eyes went wide. John could hear the gardener fall, and he looked around the room. The entire room was staring at him. Lucy still combing in primes, Larry just looking, and the checker players one mid-move. John's heart was pounding. Cold sweat rolled down his back, but he managed to chuckle. "What, are you crazy?" He forced a smile. He felt the rest of the room lose attention in him, and the gardener got back up. John scooted quite close to the other man now and whispered, "Shit, what's going to happen to me?" Then a sudden realization struck him. "Wait, you said they got everybody that comes here. Why haven't they got you?" John's brow furrowed. The other man moved real close, just an inch from John's face, and John could make out a slight whir of a fan. "Who says they haven't?" John's eyes widened, and he felt a hand on his shoulder. John, I hope that Mr. Castellanos isn't trying to scare you like he does with all the new patients." John was silent. "No, Nurse Margaret. Just welcoming him to the ward." The nurse smiled and pulled John up. "Are you ready for your first procedure?" John didn't know how to respond, was just pulled along dumbly.